Hi, everybody. Paul Gray here saying welcome to this week's Convertible Conversations. As some of you know, I have a book coming out that's different than these little videos. It's actually called Convertible Conversations, but it's a novel, and I think you'll really like it. I'll give you some more information about it later on. But one of the topics that I introduce in this book is called the Hellish Darkness. And that's a place that we can go in our minds and really spiral down if we don't know Jesus. But he, of course, is there with us, and his light will take us out of that darkness. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what we're talking about here today. Last week, the topic was 50-20 vision, where we learned that God sometimes, people sometimes mean things for bad or for evil, but God always works things out for the good. We talked about the fact that situations happen in our nation, in our state, our city, our neighborhood, in our own life, situations that seem to be bad. And then we have the choice as to whether or not we can look at that evil and dwell on it and perceive that it's really bad, or we can remember that God is working continually in every situation all throughout the world to bring about his ultimate purpose, which is the restoration of all things. So instead of dwelling on what's bad about a situation and taking an offense, we talked about Proverbs 19:11, which says, good sense or wisdom makes someone slow to anger, and it's to his glory to overlook an offense. And we talked about the reason why is because when we take an offense and we think about it and dwell on it and get irritated and we harbor bitter resentment, we get more angry and we feel more hurt, we think we're the victim, we can even get to where we want to make the other person pay and we want to take revenge and we want them to know how much they hurt us. We want to get even. So we mope around and we show that we're hurt and we get bitter. And we talked about Hebrews 12:15, which said, see to it that no one misses the grace of God, because when you get bitter, you miss God's grace, and that causes trouble and defiles many people. Don't take that offense. Let it go. I thought we had a great discussion about that last week, and I felt really good about it, and I got a lot of good comments from it. And then, by the time the week was over, I had the opportunity to practice what I preach. That happens pretty often with me. Many times when God shows me what he wants me to talk on, that's exactly the thing that I'm going to need in my life in the next short period of time. I was in a situation where something happened that initially made me think something really awful was going to happen. And the more I thought about it, the darker the situation seemed. I call it the hellish darkness. But I'm learning that it's a hell of my own creation, not a hell that God has created to punish me in. The hellish darkness is a place where you fixate on what appears to be a really bad situation. Your circumstance is bad and you can't see your way out of it. And what many of us do when we're in the hellish darkness is we catastrophize. We go down the tunnel of the worst case scenario. We think, all right, the other person said this, that means this is going to happen. I can't do anything about it. It's just going to get worse. Let me give you an example. This is not what happened to me, but the process is similar, and it leads to the hellish darkness. Let's say that you live month to month. Barely manage to get by, you use credit cards some, but as long as things stay the way they are, you think you'll be okay. Then, at work, you get in an argument with a coworker, and they accuse you of breaking company policy, doing something that's prohibited, and that is an offense that will get you fired. And you say, well, that's not true, but they say, I think it is. And I'm going to call our manager. Well, you know that there's a good possibility that the manager will believe that person and fire you, and there's nothing you can do. So you go home after work, you start to think about it, and you can quickly go from thinking, well, I might have to get another job, to spiraling down the tunnel of worst case scenario to the bottom where you go, oh, I've lost my job, I can't get another one, I'm going to lose my house, I'm going to be bankrupt, I'll lose my family, I'm going to die homeless on the street because it's cold and winter is here. Anybody else besides me ever been at the bottom of the tunnel of the worst case scenario? Well, this all happens in our imagination, in the hellish darkness. And this week we're going to get to know better the truth that sets us free from all that. Hope you'll join me. This is Paul Gray saying, see you next time.